All right, so we have our first box. Now we're going to create the rest of them. And we're just going to use the first one as a template. So box 1 ends right here, so we'll grab that. Okay, and then we're going to just come down here, and underneath that, I'm going to paste it in, and we're going to change that to box 2. Now, there's some differences here between the first and the rest of them. For one, these quotes aren't going to be on any of the other ones, so we can get rid of that. And since we got rid of those, the absolute positioned quotes, we can get rid of the relative class here. We can also get rid of the Z10, the Z index, and we can get rid of the Z index here and relative on the large text. All right, and then let's do the background. So it's going to be gray, and we're going to set it to 600. And then the person for this is Jonathan, so we want the image of Jonathan. And then for the name, let's change that to Jonathan Walters. Let's save. Now, we're not going to add like a margin top or anything because we're going to use the gap class when we use the grid, and that will put the spacing in automatically. Okay, so now we need to change the text as well. I mean, you don't have to, but just to make it look more realistic, we're just going to paste the text in here and the small text. Grab that. And of course, you can get this from the repo. So let's copy box 2 now, which ends right here. And we're going to paste that in and change this to box 3. Now, this is going to be a little weird. Let me just show you. If we go to the final project, so Kira is going to be third on large screens, okay? Or I should say medium and up. She's going to be third because that's where we want it placed. And then her box is going to span the rest of these rows. Now, on small screens, Kira is going to be not third, but last, okay, fifth. Just because I think it's better than, because here it looks like she should be third, right? So we want to kind of keep that presentation on mobile screens. So what we'll do is we'll have 2 boxes for her, and the third one will be hidden on small screens, and the last one will show on small screens, okay? So this one is going to be Kira, even though that on the final result here, we see Jeanette. It's just going to be hidden. So we want to change, we want to change the background is actually going to be white. So let's say BG white, and then let's make the text, we'll say text gray 900. Okay, and then for the image, it's going to be Kira, and for the name, it's going to be Kira Whittle, and then for the text, see, this is the large text, and then I'll grab the small text. Okay, that is 2 quotes for some reason. All right, let's save that, and now we have Kira. So again, this is going to be hidden on small screens, so for now I'm just going to go ahead and add hidden here. Oops, don't want a space there. Now box 4, let's copy, I'll just copy box 2 again. And let's go down here to, let's see, where does box 3 end? Ends right here. So now this is going to be box 4. Although on small screens, it'll be seen as box 3. And this is going to be Jeanette. She also has a white background. So let's change BG to white. And let's change the text color. So text dash gray 900. And then the image is going to be Jeanette. And the name, we're going to change that to Jeanette Harmon. And then for the text, I'm just going to grab that. This is the large text. And the small text is really short. Okay, so if we save that, there we go. And that should look similar to what we have here. And then the next one will be Patrick Abrams. So that'll be box 5. Let's copy, I'll just copy box 2 again. And box 4 ends right here. So let's paste that in. That'll be box 5. And then we want the background on this to be BG Gray 900, so really dark. And then the image is going to be Patrick. The name is going to be Patrick Abrams. And then the text, just throw that in. And we'll also throw the small text in. Save that. And there we go. We have Patrick Abrams. And then we're going to have Kira again for box 3. So let's just copy that. That's box 4. This is box 3. Let's see. Yeah, box 3. Whoops. We want to just grab that, and we're going to come down after box 5, which ends right here, and we're going to paste that in. This is going to be box 6, and we're going to, let's see, so yeah, Kira is going to be last on small screen, so we want to get rid of this hidden. And if we do that and we take a look at ours, now we have, this looks just like the final project aside from the spacing. So now that we have all of our boxes, we're going to start to work on, we're going to add the grid classes first on the container, and then whatever boxes are going to span columns and rows, we want to add that as well. All right, guys, so right now we have all of our cards or boxes, whatever you want to call them, just one on top of each other, and we want to create a layout like this. And this is where the grid really comes in handy, is when you want this type of layout. You couldn't do this with Flexbox because Flexbox is one-dimensional. With the grid, we can span columns, rows, whatever. Well, I should say with Flexbox, you can't do it with just one container. And for example, I could add on my grid container here, I could say Flex. And if I save that, it's going to just make them all side by side. So, I mean, Flex is great for something like that. But we're going to set this to grid, which by default isn't going to put them in columns. We have to specify that, just like with regular CSS. And I'm just going to add a gap of 6 between all of these as well. Now we want to tell it how many columns we want. So to begin with, we're going to say grid calls 1. Because we want them stacked on small screens. So we do want this when the screen is small. However, when we hit medium screens and up, what we'll do is set it to 4 columns. Okay, so we'll say, let's put this at the end here, and we'll say medium and then grid dash calls dash 4. Okay, so that's going to put them into 4 columns. Now, I also want to span, or I want to set my grid rows to 2. If we look at the final thing here, we basically have 2 rows, okay? So let's say grid, I'm sorry, this is only on medium screens, so I'm going to put this back here. So medium screens, we want grid dash rows dash 2, which right now isn't going to change the way that this looks. So we do want to span some of these. If we look at the first one here, this one is actually spanning 2 columns, okay? Because right now it's set to 4 columns. However, we only see 3 here because this first one is actually spanning 2. So let's go back to ours and let's have this one span 2. So we're going to go to box 1 right here. And we only want this to happen on medium screens. So we'll say medium call dash span, and we want to do dash 2. Okay, if I do that, now you can see this one is taking up 2 columns. All right, now looking at our layout, the second one, so box 2 is, we're just going to leave that as is. And then 3, So 3 is going to be Kira on desktops. So let's go ahead and go to 3. Let's see, we'll show ours here. And right now, Jeanette is 3. But if we go to our box 3 and remove hidden, not remove hidden, but set on medium. So on medium screens, we want this to display as block, so that will show it. All right, so if we save that now, we have Kira as 3rd. We also have her down here as 6. So we don't want this to show on large screens. So what we can do real quick is come down to that, which is box 6, and let's say on medium screens and higher, we want that to be hidden. So if I save that, now that one goes away. Okay. Now as far as what we want this 3rd one, this Kira, let's see, let's find box 3. All right, so as far as what we want this to do, we want it to span 2 rows. Okay, so we want it to go basically all the way down. So let's find the div with box 3, and let's say on medium screens, we want to row span -2. Save that, and now the Kira's box card, whatever, will span all of these. So let's see, this one here, Patrick Abrams, we want him to span 2 columns as well to kind of fill in this space. So let's come down to, let's see, which one is Patrick? He's actually box 5. All right, so for box 5, we're going to add at the end here, let's say MD:"call-span-2, save that, and now Patrick fills in that gap there. And you can play around with this if you want, and have maybe you even want 3 rows and have Jeanette span 2 and come over, and I mean you can change it however you want. But on smaller screens, once we hit that medium breakpoint, it's just they're all gonna stack, and you should only see Kira once because the 3rd one is gonna be hidden on small screens. All right, guys, so we're pretty much done, but in the next video, I want to show you an example of using a plugin. We're going to install something called Line Clamp, which will truncate lines of text for us.